Alrighty.
Right on, cool. So let's kick off today with Django. You were just telling us about Kinda Sound, your involvement in this online radio station, which has got like mad props when it comes to like charity upliftment and goodwill endeavors. Would you tell us a bit more about your role there?
Sure. So I'm basically running the sound for this online station. I'm the broadcast engineer, effectively. It's quite simple, actually. We get people in on Zoom, and then I'm running them, basically broadcasting them live or pre-recording the shows. I've got audio routed from Zoom into Ableton, so I can record them into live and into Zoom. So I've got like uh, extra backup of recording, and then live is awesome in that you can record the whole like performance of a show if it's pre-recorded. So I could actually go back and edit, like a fade or something if the show went over time. So that is my role, and also just dealing with the scheduling and maintaining the website, and dealing with the presenters. There's about 10 people at the moment. We've got a dude talking about common law coming on soon, which a few people have said, oh, that doesn't exist in South Africa. And I'm a bit baffled, but they're a South African group. I'm not sure how much success they've had, but it'll be interesting to hear from them. We've got a guy in a township that I was talking about before. He's hitting record there. His name was Bulalani. He's near Sedgefield, and he's like doing all sorts of upliftment work in his community that the founder of the station is funding. Stuff like a non-profit shop, and he teaches dance to like some of the kids in the community and takes them to like festivals and weddings. But it's not just like that. Like him and his wife are helping them with their schoolwork, and like they'll actually make sure the work is done before they actually do the dance class. And so it seems like quite a wholesome and like holistic sort of thing. He's got loads of like community projects on the go. And it's just, looking for people like that, he'll help them online to like come onto Zoom with us and sort of hopefully publicize what they're up to in their communities, and hopefully get some dialogue between people like that. If you find a community hero in different towns and get them speaking to one another about societal solutions, I think that's going to be quite a useful platform going forward.
So
The
your
obvious limitation is that it's online and not an FM.
that's
Go for it, John.
thanks for that. I was going to say your involvement there seems to be heavily based on the ideology and it's not just a job to you. Is that a fair statement?
I feel like that is the fair statement with most things I'm doing. I mean, I had someone today ask me for a rate for something, and I was like, that is the last thing I want to know about this job. I want to know if I want to work with this person and what their plan is once this album is done, that they want to, like, they've got like a 10-track thing. They were like, how much is it to record? I'm like, that is like the very, very last question, like for someone I haven't met. I don't know. It's funny to me. So yeah, I guess I'm definitely more motivated by people's motives and stuff than money. Definitely.
Cool. Yeah, that might be one of the things that's changing the fastest about the world. What say we spin the roulette wheel and head over? We just heard a bit from Jack before. Matt, anything on your side you want to share? You want to take the floor? Tell us what you're up to, or problems you're facing, or stuff that's new, whatever.
Yeah. So interesting. Damn it. I was sorry, I was a couple minutes late as well, because when you said, maybe you had something to show, I think you sent the mail yesterday or whatever. So I was like, what's done that's worth a little bit of a show? And what's, because I'm kind of working on a few things at the moment, but they're not really quite there, and then to make them sort of, I guess, in a way, what's the word, presentable, would have taken a little bit of time. But I had this thing I wanted to show you guys, which now I can't because it's not working. It was a I'd worked out a way to that when I play trombone, if I play a certain note, it'll turn different. I can switch on and off different lights and appliances and music and stuff in my house.
That is great.
So unfortunately, I got most of the stuff back up running.
So wait, just back up here.
Just moved off that laptop.
You play a certain note on the trombone and it activates certain lights, but if you play a different note, it doesn't.
Yeah. So if I play a note that's not programmed, it does nothing. If I play like just for like an F, it'll turn on like the light behind me. It'll play a G, it'll turn on different light. Play another note, it'll turn on the music. Or turn it off.
Is it? That is. I've never even thought of that as a possibility before.
And then I mean, I've got most of it up and running now. I've got it where I've got everything. So you know when there's like one piece of the puzzle, there's like a whole chain of events that has to happen. Just one of them is just now broken. Just broke all of a sudden. I mean, I haven't opened the project in probably about a year, so I was just going to boot it up and just see what I could do. And unfortunately, that little slice, but. So I would dig to show you guys that next time.
Cool.
I think the thing that I was thinking today about, and it's kind of been on my mind, is maybe just crowdsource an opinion on something beyond the usual. But it's I've kind of got this song. It's a remix of a friend's song, and it's the first remix that I've done. And I kind of like started working on it. Well, I just like the song. I just put a kick drum underneath it and then slowed it down. And that I was like, it sounds cool. Then I was just kind of more just screwing around with some software and just trying some stuff out. And then, fast forward a little bit, I'm like, oh wait, I'm actually digging this quite a lot. Maybe I should keep going and then see if I can take the scratch track and go get the separates, whatnot. Anyway, so the idea was to put this track in my set, which is for Not Max, and it's kind of like a desert. Like the inspiration is very much like sort of more of a deserty thing, more relaxed. It's not like club. It's sort of more minimal. There's drop, and there's not a lot of drops. It's more just like you come down, go up. It's like being on a train. So the tempo of a lot of the stuff sits between like 114 at the very bottom, 117 for kind of medium slow, up to about 123, 125, and then 126 is about the top of kind of where I'm writing it at. This particular track, I feel like I started writing it at 117, and if I was playing it to somebody that I thought had a bit more radio sensibility in their taste, I would probably bump it up. I'm comfortable with it at like 123. I feel like certain flavors change a little bit, but not too drastically. I haven't really played with it much above that because I just haven't. But the question is, does anybody have any or practical ways of thinking about things in terms of BPM selection for a tune? Playing live, I don't mind. I can work it up and down, or I could experiment and stuff. But in terms of if I want to do this remix and then release it, I've got a feeling that like the tempo can have a profound impact on the reception for people who aren't in the who are in various contexts, and that's a kind of a question that it's kind of been on the back of my mind for like the last couple of weeks. So I was wondering if anybody's got any thoughts, inputs, anything really.
Ross and Django are both seasoned DJs. What do you think, Ross?
I think that's exactly the perspective he's not looking for, though. It sounds like you're kind of looking for almost like a dance perspective, because they'll have a different opinion on tempo and how it makes them feel. Yeah, it's interesting.
Cool. I've got one. Sorry, carry on, Jacob.
No, that was me.
Well, I suppose just that Hans Zimmer masterclass, right? He mentioned some things with regards to where he starts his process. So like he mentioned 80 BPM, right? Which we can consider 160 anyway. But it's there's no sort of set energy yet, right? So you can definitely go. So if you end up at the sort of chilled dub stuff as well, like you end up going up to 100 BPM, right? And then coming down from there is very easy as well. So I think like where did you say it is now? It like ends at 126 anyway, right? That's your peak, that sort of thing, am I right?
Yeah. I mean, in the set in general, yeah.
All right, cool. It's like if you get something, this is very irritating when somebody asks for a dance remix of something, right? And they've given you a dubstep track, for instance, at 140, right? Going down to 120 there feels like the lamest thing on the planet. And the only place you can go is higher than that. So that's never going to work. So I think anything that's around like your default is 120 anyway when you start the DAW, right? So like you say, on many drops as well. So I mean, like I would generally try to do stuff at 100 anyway, because for me that's more practical. So yeah, I don't know if the rest agree with that, but I generally start there anywhere between 80 and 100, and then I've got more paths to follow from that instead of, it's not limiting. Yeah, John, what do you think about that?
Yeah. To come down in BPM is like, in terms of dance music, is like a major bummer. I've seen like, I'm not like a pro DJ. I'm not like even really a DJ anymore. But there's ways to do it. There's ways to like, transition from house to hip hop, for example, but there are extreme moments in the set. And if you're looking for a solution that's like to sort of more taper it off, then yeah, I would say just start slower. What are you looking to do with the track?
I mean, it's more of like the specific selection of a specific track for publication. So like, I think you're right with my set like starts off with the intro is like sitting at like 96, and then by the end I think I'm peaking at like 130, and I think the sets that I've done, they never go down. They always just keep going up and up and up. So it's more like this particular song can fit kind of in the middle of that set anywhere. And as if I'm live, I can always manipulate that or change the set or whatever. But if I decide to sit, like if I'm happy with the song as a publication, and I say, okay, well, now I want to like put it on Spotify or submit it to a radio station or something. How do I don't have the context of a set, and I don't have the context of the environment I'm in. I've got the context of like somebody listening to it anywhere, anytime. And that's the kind of thing that really bothers me, is like, if I choose 117 or I choose 123, does that have a profound impact on how it might be received or perceived by the person X in environment Y? And is there any, like, besides a philosophical approach of like, you just got to do what feels right, are there any kind of like, as you say, I mean, if like there's some masterclass or any comments that anybody, if a thought of, I just try to get as much input as I can into this kind of like.
One more point just on that, right? I think in general music has gotten slower. Okay, I think we within a 20-year age gap like between us, right? But if funky house, for instance, that was at 130, for instance, and then house eventually got to like the 120s and 125s, just in terms of the pop music that was coming out, right? So in the 90s, things were very fast and it slowed down. And then the sort of, whereas dance can be considered at 100 now almost, right? So I think your general audience is going to be of the younger persuasion, basically. So remixes of older songs, they like just are slower in general. So I think if you do something at 110, right, then it sort of would fit both. So anyone that wants to remix that or play that into a set, they can go fully house, or they could go down to the 110s and 100s for the pop stuff anyway. And you still get a dance crowd basically getting down to that anyway.
I think you're right. I've heard like, what is that guy, Alan Walker? Like, it sounded like people were even joking about you play that at 1.25 on YouTube and it sounds like Avicii, because it's like that exact sound of Avicii slowed down to like 100. So like it has been getting slower and slower, and you see it with rap as well. Like Jump Around was probably like 110, and a lot of the older stuff was a bit faster, and it's like gotten slower. So it's an interesting point. I think it's true across quite a few spaces, and definitely that 110 sort of range is very popular at the moment with that, like, what do they call it, like Moombahton,
yeah,
reggaeton. A lot of that stuff is around 100 to like 110, 112.
Yeah, it's who's it for? That's the main thing. Who's it for?
Kind of. Yeah, well, exactly. So I mean, I am definitely writing for a slower. We were out in the desert and somebody was saying, "Oh, there's like ketamine music going on the dance floor." ketamine music, you know? And
It's like, get it right, man. It's not ketamine music, it's Xanax music. Ketamine music is 105 to 115 and Xanax is 95.
That's exactly. So we were like, we went down there, and the one day we were like, wait, let's give it a, like, because when we first went down, we were like, fuck, this is like way too slow. We can't even dance. It's like, feels like you're like having to like move the limbs around, you know, like with like intent. And then we were like, no, let's go down like really front and center. Let's try and get into it. And once you get into the pulse of it, you know, so it shows a hypnotic pulse of it being at like much slower. All of a sudden, you like, there's a lot more space in the music to like put certain things. I was like, fuck, this is like a techno track, but you could really have like a funky house section in here because there's so much space, and kind of like really started trying to look at, okay, how can we use space? So that's so I'm definitely going for a slower draw. I don't think I can go much lower than I am now, just because the original song that I'm remixing is like a folk acoustic. Well, no, it's not. It's like folk punk or something. That's it. I think it's sitting around like 140 or something like that. So pulling it down to where it is already, the voices sound a little like slightly slow, you know. But I think that is a good point. Maybe if I can take out a practical piece from that, maybe a good point is that we've got space to err on the side of being a bit slower now, you know, as opposed to, you know, if there is kind of like a range,
right,
there is a lot of space on the lower side to go without too much fear. I think that's what I'm going to take away from that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I get you. Seeing as that's the sort of trend, I just wouldn't. This is my perspective on things, and I hope it's different to yours and others, but I wouldn't put too much emphasis on the input phase. For me, these things tend to get lost in the sea of media unless you have a very clear idea of who it's for and what your plan is for being distinctive enough to be discovered. For example, a lot of DJs do shop by BPM, and 120 BPM is considered a threshold. Anything below is not going to make the cut. So you kind of want to ask how much you're going to play ball with those prescribed rules. Now's the time to chat to Ross and Django, like ask questions like, what do you actually look for when you're selecting a track? How important is the metadata? Try and put yourself in the shoes of the person who's actually at the other end of the pipe. Unless it's something that you're just doing for fun or your own fulfillment, and then you can do what you like. If your aim is to get noticed in any way, you'll have to take your own hat off and put your target person's hat on, your market or your audience or your follower or whatever. That's a really good point of, that's the point of like a lot of the way I think now. There's something I'd like to share with you guys. I'll add it to the sheet, and it's a really good episode, a new episode of a podcast created by a guy called Eric Nuzum, who's like one of the leading writers on podcasting. And these guys are like at the front of what's happening in media. And they found this guy, I don't know where they found him, but he's a British guy, and he's got a bird's eye view of what is happening in music. He was releasing streaming audio before Spotify. He was like in 97, he was doing what Spotify did like 15 years later. And he just very clearly lays out what's going on, how it's working, how record labels have changed their role in the industry from being investors in the industry. Those were the people that put money into the artists, to now flipping around and becoming service providers. In other words, they're taking money from the artists. So the whole thing is turned around. And he's got all these incredible insights. It's a 20-minute episode. I recommend you give it a listen. I'll link to it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be quoting it and referencing it a lot in my work in the future, because it is just on point. He's got exactly what people like us need to hear. So I'd recommend just stick it on 2x and listen to the whole thing. Take you 15 minutes, and you'll have a much greater understanding of how we should be approaching, the publishing of our work. I'll stick that in the folder right now.
Are we looking in topics, right?
Just
are you
a second.
Place it
Give me a sec to...
Your internet is hating you today, John.
Is it crunching? Yes.
Oh yeah, I thought it might be mine. I was about to switch my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, sorry. Oh wait, hang on. There we go. That's it. Oh, by the way, can you hear this or not? Not. Is there a guy talking in the background?
No.
Okay, fine, no worries.
No, just John the robot.
Okay, hang on a sec. I'm just going to add a new sheet here. Okay, give me a sec to format that. So yeah, what what are we here? What are we doing here, guys? Help me answer that question. We've shown up week after week. Where's this going? Oh, sorry. Before you answer that question, I got to kill and restart the chat.
A philosophical question right there.
Yeah, no. Leave it hanging. Give me 5 seconds to think. Rejoin the chat. I don't have a premium Zoom. We're just gonna have to do this again. So I'm gonna hang up now and then.
Okay, cool.
But do you want to jump out and back in?
Yeah, we have to restart the meeting because of the limitation. I think we must talk about this too, but
Okay.
yeah, just end your call and then rejoin the chat as soon as you can. All right, ciao.
All right.